Welcome everybody to Spatineo's webinar about spatial data flow, how to enable that efficiently. That's going to be the topic today. Just before we go to the topic itself more in depth, nice to meet you all. I'm Lucas Raatikainen. I'm from Spatineo. I'm the sales and marketing coordinator, and we also have Tapio, that side of the screen.
Yeah, I'm Tapio Silva from Spatineo Ltd, and I've worked around spatial data APIs, platforms, consulting and location intelligence already for 32 years. And I work in Spatineo as sales manager, especially responsible for consulting.
Okay, thanks Tapio for joining this webinar today, by the way. So why are we talking about spatial data flow today, and why we think that data is exactly like water? That's going to be the narrative for today. Data flow is kind of like a river. Usually rivers and data, they have some sort of starting point, and the water and the data, they flow from the starting point throughout different kind of rivers, different kind of lakes, different kind of reservoirs, into the ocean or into the bottling plant or something like that. We can think that data has similar things on it. Data can be used at the source. Data usually flows throughout your own systems, through APIs to other companies, other organizations. It's being utilized in different kind of forms throughout its life cycle, throughout the data flow. And there's lots of similarities within those water and the data. And we think that enabling the free and robust data flow is one of the most important things different kind of organizations can do right now. Tapio, what do you think? What has been the thing with the data flow, and what's the status right now?
Actually, we don't necessarily think about the history of industry. So currently we are having, and we already have, fourth industrial revolution, and it's going on. So if you go back to the history, maybe we remember from the history lessons at school, at least, the first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize production. For example, spinning jenny, maybe somebody remembers, and it was started in 1800th century. The second industrial revolution used electric power to create and enable mass production in the beginning of last century. And third industrial revolution used electronics and information technology to automatize production, and the timetable was around from 1970s. And currently, actually, we are in the phase of fourth industrial revolution, and it's based on digitalization, automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and such. And it means that it is possible to combine devices, applications, and services in brand new ways. And it means that also lots of data and efficient data flows are really needed.
That is very much true about data flow. Personally, I believe that we are right now kind of in like a crossroads about data flow and open data. The steps we are right now making will definitely impact more and more over the years how data is being utilized and what's being done about it. Since right now, data is like a commodity that everybody can utilize, but will it be open data in the future? Will it be like hoarded and siloed? And will it be like shut from the general public in the future? We will know. Hopefully not. But Tapio, what do you think? Like in global aspect and in national aspect, what do you think? What's the status with the open data and data flow on country levels?
Yeah, sure. Actually, the amount of data, as well the meaning and impact of data, is increasing everywhere on the globe, and it means that it's also very important to have access to that kinds of the most important data sets, and data flow is crucial. And actually, also the amount of data is very big, but also data quality and the availability of the data is even more important and more crucial than ever before. And I think the most benefits will be get by using the best fitting and reliable available data for the specific use case, and stored there's already big amounts of data. For example, in Helsinki city, there's around 80,000 street lights on the streets, and for example, in Airbus airplanes, there's about 10,000 sensors per wing. So it means that when we use data, also the availability and processing of data, it's very, very important. And but sometimes there's never too much data. Let's say, for example, in artificial intelligence and machine learning, the more high quality data, the better they actually work. And I see, and everybody knows that data is a fuel for digitalization. And let's say data is like a fuel, and digitalization is the engine running. And as told, the quality of data is emphasized, and basically nowadays still many of us still use the data which happens to be available, and maybe not always the best fitting for the specific use case. And sometimes the data processing is best to do locally on the edge nearby the data source, and sometimes it's better to use data lakes, data warehouses, for example, in the cloud, or combination of these. And also one trend is that the applications are becoming more and more complex, and they are becoming more and more dependent on the network, and more complex to maintain as well. And it means that we need solutions for monitoring availability, performance, applications, and APIs. And the trend is also that decentralized data is becoming more and more popular and important. It means that that kind of data has to be combined by using APIs. So in this complex world, we need expertise and reliability when doing something. That's let's say kind of global phenomena. And in Europe, maybe you have heard that the European Union's data strategy aims to make European Union as a leader in data-driven society, and also enable create single markets for data to flow freely within the European Union and across the sectors to reach benefits for businesses, researchers, public administrations, and individual humans also. And access to the data and the ability to use it are very essential for innovation and growth also. And of course, we have to think about the benefits always. And for example, in Finland, when you go to Finland, let's say I see that Finland is a kind of forerunner in digitalization, and in Finland also we have a report of spatial data policy, which was published in I think it was at the end of 2018, and its vision is that Finland has to be the most innovative and secure spatial data ecosystem in the whole world, and it affects the works we do. And the aim of that report is to oblige all actors in the public sector to see the interoperability of spatial data and data in general, and access to it in a way that they can be used more and more by public authorities and companies as well. And also in Finland, many public organizations has already use APIs and data because of European Union's Inspire directive, which was in place for the public sector, and it was, let's say, it was kind of minimum requirement. But a very good point is that many people in the public sector, also in Finland, has really used APIs and data and have networks, and they understand the importance of the data and data flows. And also currently in European Union Open Data Directive, which was released in 2019, it affects what we will do in the near future, and also there's many other forerunner activities in Finland. For example, Sitra, the Finnish Innovation Fund, has been very active. They have had projects where they have been building a European model for fair, human-centric, and this kind of data economy and data markets. And it's I can really recommend the guidelines which are available from the web. And in Finland also, we have joined last year World's Economic Forum also, and let's say in digitalization, Finland is a real foreigner, and we have also local many kinds of data strategies in for example in the cities, and but I think the strongest factors in Finnish society, I mean, trust and security, has to be involved in data economy as well. So it's lots of things happening, and but this is not only technical question and area. We have to be able to communicate about the sometimes complex things to anyone, and we have to think about the legal point of view. We have to think of ethical point of view and such. But good phase at the moment. We are in very
definitely agree with you, Tapio, there. If we could somehow just put all the trust and the security Finnish society has into a kind of like data service product, and that would be straight away a huge export to other countries. Since data needs to be secure and it needs to be transparent, and you need to be able to trust the data you use. That's one of the big things we always like to emphasize, basically.
Yes, and we really can't forget the security part of this. It's very important because there's impacts on many directions.
That is true. As per promised in the webinar abstract, we promised that we're going to be telling you 3 steps how to make your whole data flow kind of better. And the security is actually one of those aspects. We're going to be talking that in a couple of minutes. But before that, one of the biggest things you can do right now, enabling your data flow to be more efficient to all of the users you have is you have to enable the usage at all points of your data flow. If we're reflecting this to the water again, what water has a starting point, just like data. Let's think about the Alps. The water rains down on the mountains. People use it to water down their gardens over there. That's one way to use data. That's kind of like the raw water, raw data they can use. You need to be able to use the data even at the starting point of the data, and that's one thing. You need to be able to use the metadata basically as well. When the water is coming down from the mountains, when you know where the water is flowing from there, you know all the aspects and all the little niches of that water. If you're able to give that openly, now in terms of data, you need to give the metadata. Different kind of search engines and humans need to be able to find the data, and metadata is one of the ways to do that actually. And the last things about this point is that refined data is usually something all organizations aim towards for. They want to give like the end product. You can think the end data product as like bottled water. The water comes down from the mountains, it goes through the lakes, it goes to a huge reservoir or something like that, and then it's bottled, it's refined. That's the end product, and that's what you're handing out. But you could be handing out the data, the water, in all different kinds of formats. If you're able to create the refined end product, you should be able to deliver different kind of other solutions as well, metadata and the raw data as well. And if those are just small steps for you, then why don't do them right away? I'm going to use Finnish Meteorological Institute as an example. They are offering huge amounts of raw data, metadata, and refined data in Finland. I can just take my phone and check what's the temperature right now here in Vantaa, where I live, right away. That's the refined end result of all the data they've compiled, basically. Or I can check the metadata on like other stuff about the meteorological data they have gathered. Or I can check the APIs for the raw data that they've gathered throughout the whole data flow they have. So give the data out at all different kind of points of your data flow. That's what I'm trying to emphasize here. Tapio, do you have any reasons why not to do this, or what do you think about enabling usage of data at the different points of the data flow?
Yeah, I think your analogy, flowing river versus data flow, it's very good and understandable. It's very good, but there's one difference. We know that water flows downwards, but data can basically flow to any direction we want. So sometimes there may be reasons like business reasons, security or protection reasons to prevent it to flow everywhere, and we have to think about this and design the solutions very carefully. And but anyway, we need more and more data. The data flow is coming more and more important, but it means also that more and more APIs are needed, and very important point is standardization. It is by standardization it can be ensured that from the decentralized systems the data can work together very efficiently if you use standards. I think I have an analogy to the history of bolts and nuts. You don't necessarily think about it very often, but maybe I would tell about that in the past. So, for example, in the First World War, more than 100 years ago, there was, of course, in the war environment, there was lots of different kinds of bolts, screws, and nuts, and especially during the World War II, it was a real issue and problem in the hectic war environment, because there were too many kinds of bolts and nuts, and they didn't necessarily fit well together. And after the World War II, International Standardization Organization (ISO) decided to make and establish standards for bolts and nuts. And I think APIs and standard APIs are like bolts and nuts. They fit together in the good world, and we have to think about that. So meaning that standardization is becoming more and more important, because we want to avoid the hassle with the data and data APIs, and ensure that they will flow smoothly.
That is true. And it's very good that you mentioned standardization, since that's part of the second point we want to emphasize today, that we should be removing barriers of usage, and standardization is actually one of those things you can do to break the barriers of usage. Since if you want your data to be used as much as possible, if you want it to have a greater impact than it has currently, you have to make it available and give it to the people the way people want to have the data, basically. Standardization is a very good example of that. Other things I would like to bring up in this regard is login information. For example, if you're providing API, or if you're providing any kind of data, if you're going to be giving it either way free, without any cost, and if you want the people to use it as much as possible, why would you make people jump through different kind of hoops to get your data? The less there are hoops to jump through, the more people will use the data. And simple logins might be one of those things that just annoy people, that give you basically nothing in return. Free usage, being free, is a huge thing, obviously, regarding open data. Some data might be open, but you have to pay for the access. Not sure if that can be even said as an open data. But if you think of any different kind of barriers you can break down and make it easier for users to get your data, please take those steps and make it easier for your users to utilize your data. Tapio, do you have any comments on this about the business perspective, legalities, and data success factor, for example?
Yes, in Spatineo we are working daily around this topic, and we can really recommend to prevent showstoppers into data and data business and data flows. And we really can recommend to use standards when possible, and ensure the quality of your data flow is that the data flow should be measured and monitored to ensure the data flow security and fast. And for example, I can compare it to the sensors in the airplanes. Everybody can understand that if there's some issues, some problems with the data flow from the wings of the airplane, it can be harmful or fatal in some cases. And also we can recommend sometimes you to establish data networks or join the existing data networks. And we can really recommend to be active in this area, because it's a success factor for you, many of you.
Definitely agreed on that. One thing that happened last week, which kind of relates to this breaking or removing the barriers of usage. Most of you hopefully have read about the evergreen container ship blocking out the Suez Canal last week. That is a very good example of what kind of destruction a barrier can create. Just one ship basically blocking huge part of the world trade in just one canal. You can think, and that's also water related. The water wasn't flowing there. The goods were not flowing because of one barrier. So please break down the barriers and make your data more usable to your end users. In case, hey, by the way, I just want to bring up again, in case you have any questions, feel free to just keep them to the questions panel throughout the presentation. We'll try to pick them up whenever we see that you have any. The third step, or the third thing we emphasize when enabling your data flow is this keys to success kind of category. You have to be able to know how your data flow moves, how it's used to be able to make it better in the long run. Knowledge about the usage is the big thing here. If you don't know how your services and your data is used, how would you ever know how to make them better in the long run? You have to recognize different kinds of bottlenecks that limit your ability to make better data flows. Check what's limiting you and try to break down those barriers. Those bottlenecks are the barriers here. Lastly, once you know how your data is used, you know where all the different kind of bottlenecks are in your data flow, you will get most likely insights at that point how to improve service actually. All of these minor things here are actually something we already provide in Spatineo Monitor. I really want to bring that up always when discussing about testing, that knowledge about the usage, monitoring your services is a big thing here. If you know how it's used, you know how to be better in the long run. Without the information, no steps to improvement. Tapio, do you have anything to add here, this slide?
Yeah, good points and true. And in Spatineo, we really do work every day around data flows and these kinds of insights and recognizing, for example, bottlenecks and so. But it's not only only technological question. There's business factors, there's legal factors, ethical factors, and so if you need help in that, you can ask your colleague or us how to go on.
That's true. So if you're able to do all those things we mentioned in the previous slides, break the barriers, know the usage, and know your data basically. That's when you're able to actually make your data flow better. So that's one of the things we do all the time. As Tapio just mentioned, that's something we do at Spatineo. Our mission is to enable open data flow more efficiently, to make it more robust in the future. We're going to be discussing about the data flow topic in the future more and more. Spatineo is currently, we're having this strategic development that we're going to be doing that way more. We're going to be focusing on that a lot. Tapio, you mentioned communications earlier on. Even if I'm a young guy in this industry, I know that open data and the data flow, enabling your users to get the data easier, those discussions have been going on for almost 10 years now. The geospatial community as a whole have known about the issues we are facing right now for a long time. Do you think we've taken the necessary steps to tackle these problems, enabling data flow?
Yes, we have to learn from the past, and the good point is that many of us has experiences which works, and we can share thoughts between the communities and individuals, and we have, let's say, keys to success in this because we have better technologies also available and knowledge available. So I think it's very now it's very important to ensure and enable your data flow in the best possible place in the flow, and it is not always the same. We have it needs designing and also implementations, and I think we have to be able to communicate better and to anyone. It's so because there's
That is true. And right now that the open data appreciation is as high as ever throughout the pandemic, a lot of people have been seeing different kind of maps and charts and data about COVID within the past year on their home TVs, basically 24/7 on the news. People have now started to appreciate open data more and more. So at least in our opinion, now it's a really good time to make open data have its impact increased. Right now, I would ask from you guys, if you have any questions toward us, we'd like to hear your thoughts about this as well. Just based on looking at the attendees list and people who have registered this webinar, there are professionals among you that know about this topic more than me and Tapio combined. And it would be great to hear your thoughts on this topic. So in case you have any questions right now, feel free to hit them in. Meanwhile, I'll give you a quick rundown at what we at Spatineo we have been doing about these big issues in the long run. The point about standardization, Tapio mentioned earlier on. For example, if you have any questions about, for example, OGC API features, about standardization as a whole, Ilkka Rinne from Spatineo has been one of the people actually developing those standards. So if you have any questions you could ever imagine about those things, feel free to email us about that, and we will definitely find the right answers and at least the right professionals to answer those questions then. At this point, I will actually also launch a quick poll to each and every one of you. In case you want to have more in-depth discussions about these things we've now told you throughout the last 30 minutes, please give your opinion if you would like to discuss this further with us. We're going to be, as I said, we're going to be discussing this topic more and more in the future, and we're going to be doing most likely some webinars, writing some papers, and hopefully as well presenting in conferences in the upcoming years about this thing. I'll give you a couple more seconds to answer the poll. So in case you have any questions, you can also email us at later point, or even send us WhatsApp messages if you want. Our phone number should be there in our webpage, so you can reach us basically any methods necessary. I think those are all the things we wanted to bring up today. Was it, Tapio? Do you have anything else to add? We've been now talking for the past 35 minutes non-stop. Any other things you'd like to bring up, Tapio?
Yeah, this was a briefing in 30-40 minutes to the world of data flows and the importance of data and data flows, and we are ready to help and support and guide you when you are, for example, designing or implementing your infrastructure, and also if you need also during the whole life cycle as well. And if you go more higher, we can also help you in analyzing the impact, finding the benefits you are planning, and what is the meaning of the data and data flows. And also we are for you to help you in planning, implementing, deploying, ensuring the quality, monitoring, measuring your services, and let's say we can be your engineer or architect office or estate managers compared to the construction sector and built up environment. We have these kind of roles, and we can help you, as Lucas told, also how to use standards reach interoperability, which is very more important, and also maybe and hopefully affect on the standardization itself to be a forerunner and having a possibility to be a forerunner. And let's say we can help you in establishing data networks or manage and have a data governance activities. For example, let's say we can work as data flow cowboys. Make this all of this happen for you.
I'm gonna add that to the business card. I'm gonna be a data cowboy from now on. It's from this day onwards. Hey, thank for everybody, everybody of you for attending this webinar. As I said in the beginning, we've recorded this webinar, and I'll be sending you a link to the whole presentation and the whole show after this. For now, I'd like to thank you for attending. Thank you, Tapio, for giving your opinions and ideas about the topic. And let's keep in touch, everybody. Send us messages, emails, and we'll answer the questions you might have in our fullest extent. Thank you, and hopefully you have a good day after this.
Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody, until next time. Gracias.